Hello and welcome to the School of Rock Blog Season 2, Episode 7. I am your host, Pokematic, and this episode was a theme episode that tied into the theme that Nickelodeon was having for this weekend's night of premieres. And because the 2016 United States presidential election is coming up, all the episodes in that Nickelodeon Night of Premieres were election themed. Not necessarily presidential election themed. They were more themed based off of just things that required democracy and elections in the episodes. This episode wasn't a presidential election. It was just kids voting on things elections. So what am I talking about? Anyway, so this episode, the premise is that Zach comes up with this idea for meal shakes where you blend the food together so then you can just drink the food. And so it starts out rather funny. So everyone's sitting down with their cafeteria food. Zach comes in and is just like, hey everyone, I've got something that's better than the cafeteria food. And then he pushes everyone's tray out of the way, except for Lawrence, who picks up his tray and then puts it down. I don't know if it's just because Lawrence is best friends with Zach and he knows what's going to be happening. Sorry about that. But or the writers just needed an excuse to have Lawrence eating cafeteria food later on, but that was a little bit funny, and Tamika's just like, what could be more important than cafeteria food and saving your 10 front teeth? So then Zach gives all his friends meal shakes, which, as I said, were meals blended up, and they don't look good. They're all like this ugly brown color. Like what would happen if you were to put the food in the blender. And everyone rightfully says that looks disgusting. And it does look disgusting. And from what I've seen where people actually do this, like when Blendtec actually put a Big Mac meal in the blender and blended it without all the cardboard and packaging, it did come out looking disgusting. And it's like, yeah, I don't blame the kids. And maybe it's just my sensory sensitivity, I guess you could say. I don't care how good they say it looks. It just doesn't how good it tastes. It just doesn't look good, and I can't get beyond that. The reason that I can eat like some relatively gross sounding things is because they look good. Case in point, a brain sandwich, which is a deep fried pig brain. I think they taste great, and it just looks like a country fried steak, I guess. And if you don't really think about it being brain meat, it tastes pretty good. But that's another story for another time. I've already talked about that on my blog on a couple of different occasions. But anyway, everyone says that it tastes good and how, oh, I can taste the ketchup and the mustard. And give it a second and you'll taste the relish. I want to take it. Oh, now I do. And it's just like, okay, the science behind this, I don't want to get too caught up on it because it's kind of the same thing as if you were to eat every single thing at the same time. Part of the reason that, like, if you were to eat, like, with the taco flavored shake, if you were to, since you are eating everything together, that would work out. But when it comes to, like, the Thanksgiving dinner, typically you don't mix your stuffing with your turkey, with your mashed potatoes, with your cornbread, with your everything. So I'm a little bit skeptical on that, but I'm getting too caught up on something that's just really just a plot device. So what happens is that after everyone says, "Oh man, this tastes great," and Lawrence is just like, Lawrence is a bit like me. He's just like, "No thanks. I prefer to just eat my food the way it normally is." And then the lunch lady comes running on. She's just like, "There's a rat in the spaghetti sauce." And then Lawrence spits out the spaghetti that he was currently eating onto Summer. And it was a lot. Like, that was probably 3 or 4 different mouthfuls because of comic effect. And it was funny. And then Mr. Finn comes out and he's just like, "What's going on?" And Dorsey's like, "There's a rat in the spaghetti sauce." And Mr. Finn is just like, "Oh, it's a good thing I ate from the teacher's spaghetti and not the student's spaghetti." And she's just like, "It's the same pot." And then Summer's over by the trash can cleaning herself up. And then Mr. Finn spits out probably 2 mouthfuls of spaghetti onto Summer. And she's just like, "Really?" And that's funny. And then Principal Mullins, rightfully so, shuts down the cafeteria until they can solve the rat problem. And Lawrence is just like, "Oh, well, at least I still have trusty old pudding." And then lunch lady Doris comes running out. "The rat is now swimming in the pudding." And then Lawrence gets up, pushes a kid out of the way, and then spits the pudding onto Summer. And it's just like, okay, now before Summer was just kind of in the line of fire. But this time it was like Lawrence actually went out of his way to spit onto Summer, and she's just like, "Oh, come on." And it's like, it couldn't have happened to a more appropriate character, because as I've said in numerous episodes, I don't like Summer. So to see her get the raw end of the deal and be the one that gets messy, it's funny. So then we get the theme song. Zach, he buys a food truck and starts selling his shakes to his student friends. And I believe the food truck's name was like Great Balls of Meat. It was just a bit of a sight gag. And he ends up selling those snacks or those meal shakes. Oh wait, beforehand, everyone is Mr. Finn. He is apparently really afraid of rats because he's jumping up on the lunch table with lunch lady Doris and all that. So when he sits down for class, everyone's kind of making fun of him because he is afraid, which it's kind of funny. And everyone is telling Zach that he has to come back and do more of these. And Lawrence says something really weird where he's just like, "I would sell my sister for a cup of liquefied nachos." Yeah, it's really weird, really dumb, and for some reason that just sticks out in my head. I don't know why, but that is one of those dumb jokes that you would expect from this series. So yeah, Zach buys a food truck. It goes off really, really well. Everyone loves it, and then and Summer wants to be the sassy waitress that calls everyone hun. And yeah, and money's flying everywhere. They can't keep up with the demand. And then I want to say his name's like Jeff from Night Lizard, one of the rival bands from Battle of the Bands. He comes up with a food truck and he's just like, remember how I said I would. Well, Freddy says something funny. He's just like, oh no, it's Jeff, the guy at the Battle of the Bands who said he's going to exact his revenge. What do you think he's doing here? And then Tamika's just like, I think it has something to do with revenge. And it's the way that was delivered and the timing, where it wasn't just like, we're going to pause for a while because Freddy said something so funny. The timing was just sort of like, Tamika needs a little bit of time to process a comeback to then say the comeback, which it worked out fairly well. It worked out really well, very entertaining. So, Jeff's, or Jason, maybe it's Jason, I don't know. If I switch between Jeff and Jason, it's because I can't remember what his name is. But, Jason, he comes with a food truck and it's called Stick It To Ya. You know, like, a parody of like I'm gonna stick it to you, stick it to the man, and all that. And he's like, I've come back to exact my revenge on you children. Ha 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 ha. And he's very petty about it. And it's just like, there's this thing where he's just like, does not, is so, is not, is so, is not, is so, is not. And he's just like, I'm not going to get into an argument with you children. I'm not going to get into a childish argument with you children. Is so, I win. Ha 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 ha. And it's like, yeah, that was a bit of a little cringe, but also kind of funny. Which, yeah, it's okay. That was all right. So then, Principal Mullen, she's like, we can't have two food trucks, so I'm going to have an election. In 2 days, there's going to be an election where the students vote for which one they want to stay, and those who win are going to, whoever wins it is going to get the contract to stay here. It's like, okay. So yeah, that's where the whole voting element of this episode comes into play, and the plot is going to still be sort of relevant later on down the line. If you were watching independent of anything else, it's not like, oh yeah, this was obviously a theme night, like Shanghai was on SpongeBob, or like the Eye of Jimmy's Head episode that was in 3D, or the episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends that was in 3D. And how do I remember those things? I don't know, but I do. So, yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah, so with the, crap. Oh yeah, so, we also, during the whole, thing with the kids and, everyone, there's a, Mr. Finn, Principal Mullins, and, Clark are out trying to find the rat, and the only reason they do that, Mr. Finn is with them, is because he kind of, through a misunderstanding of trying to be brave and show that he's not super afraid of the rat, he kind of ends up volunteering for trying to find the rat, and Principal Mullins is like, oh great, thanks Mr. Finn, all the other teachers were afraid. And he's just like, yeah, okay. So he's out trying to find the rat, and Clark is there's this little bit where Clark kind of hisses when he was breathing, because Clark, and it's like, my doctor's named the condition now after me. And Principal Mullins is like, Clark, I already excused you from gym once. I've already excused you from gym today. You don't have to keep making up conditions. Okay, that was pretty funny. And Mr. Finn, he, a lot of jokes about him being afraid of rats. So then everyone, after the whole stick it to ya, and there's going to be a competition, we see everyone in the, uh, Mr. Finn's room, and he's like, and all the kids are eating stick it to ya food. And Summer's just like, it's all sorts of weird things. And the reason the kids like stick it to ya is just because they need a conflict for the episode. It's really nothing special. Jason doesn't add any sort of secret sauce to the food. It's just that he takes normal food and puts it on a stick. Pizza on a stick, breadstick on a stick, fried chicken on a stick, corn dog on a stick, cake on a stick. And it kind of reminds me of Tebow from iCarly in a way. So, yeah, and it's... What's really funny is that, like, the corn dog on a stick, the corn dog is positioned perpendicular to the stick, so the stick is, like, going right through the long side of the bit, and there's already a stick on it, so it's like there's two different sticks. And I don't know why, but it's just, like, so absurd that I think it's hilarious. And when Zach sees all of his friends and employees eating stick it to ya food, Summer's just like, oh, we're just exploring the competition. And Tamika's just like, yeah, we're doing research on them. And Lawrence is just like, just for the record, I'm just eating the food because I wanted it to. And it's just the way that he delivered it and how he's just so deadpan of, no, I'm just being disloyal to my own brand. It's funny. And the way that, and then all the kids, of course, say, well, we're not going to eat stick it to you food. And yeah, that's good little brand loyalty. But then everyone wants the stick it to you food later, and they just can't stop thinking about it. It's just like, it's just food on a stick. But they need it needs to just be dumb and ridiculous because it's a kid's sitcom. So then the kids are eating... they're eating the stick it to you food behind the stick it to you van truck, and it's just originally it's just Summer and Freddie, and Zach discovers them, and he's just like, I can't believe it. 2 of my friends are eating stick it to you. And then Tamika comes out, crawling out from underneath the truck, going, ants, 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 ants. Hi, Zach. Holding stick it to you food, and he's just like, well, at least my best friend Lawrence isn't doing this. And then Lawrence falls out of a tree, and he's just like, I think I landed on my stick. So then Zach, rightfully so, is upset with them and kind of fires them. And back to the B plot. So then Mr. Finn's like, here, ratty, ratty, rat. Please don't be here, ratty, ratty, rat. Which, okay, that's kind of funny. And, yeah. So then we actually see the rat for the first time. And maybe it's just that I like rodents for pets. I've had a couple of hamsters. And I'm considering maybe getting a pet mouse. But... the rat looks cute. It looks like it doesn't look like a vermin rat. It looks like a pet rat. It looks like a fancy rat. And Mr. Finn, he's afraid and runs away, and yeah, all that good stuff. So anyway, Zach ends up having trouble with his friends, and he has trouble trying to run the food truck on his own, and then trying to run the blenders, everything gets blended, and it starts spraying everywhere, and he gets all messy, and he tries to get this one guy asked for a free sample while he waits for the stick it to you truck, and Zach was going to give him either a hamburger or pizza shake, and after the explosion, he just kind of gives it to the guy, and the guy's just like, "So is this the hamburger or the pizza?" And Zach's like, "I think it's both." And he's just covered in foodstuffs. And now we come in with Mr. Finn doing an actual science experiment where he's going to take a bowling ball and get to show the class how to measure the volume using the displacement method. And it's like, okay, that's actual science that's actually appropriate to the kids' grades. And he's having a lot of fun with it, and then Zach comes in. He's all messy and shakes out a little bit of shake from his pant leg, and he's just like, "I'm here. Let's get back to class, Mr. Finn." Mr. Finn's just like, "Hey, Zach, go change, clean yourself up." And everyone's just like upset that they let him down, and Mr. Finn is like, "Look, guys, you're just gonna have to get used to the fact that sometimes in life you let people down." And then his brother or brother-in-law or someone calls him because he needs a ride to the airport. He's just like my brother who I was supposed to pick up from the airport. And he just lies to him and says all sorts of things. And okay, then Mr. Finn offers to teach the kids how to cheat unofficially because he's their teacher. And Summer's just like, "No, we're just going to give a superior product." So then all the kids band together. They vastly improve the meal shake image. They repaint the van. They repaint the truck. They get a mascot. They make a theme song, which is sung by School of Rock and all that good stuff. And then while they're singing the theme song, there's a montage of how everyone wants the meal shakes again. And the stick it to you guy is left without customers. And now, throughout the entire episode, he's been a real jerk and been very nasty to Zach, and there's really no reason to feel bad for him. He's getting what he deserves. But during the montage, he looks very pathetic, very sad. And I actually kind of feel bad for him. Like, I know I shouldn't because he's the antagonist of the episode. He's the bad guy, and he's been extremely cruel to Zach and the gang. But it's just kind of like the way that he's like sort of frowning and acting desperate and like waving his food on a stick. It just looks so pathetic and sad that I just kind of feel bad for the guy. And I think it's also just like in combination with his dirty beard that he has, that he just looks even more pathetic, and it's like, I feel kind of bad for the guy. So, of course, the kids win, and they win by a landslide, and they get the food contract and all that, and he's just like, "You haven't seen the last of me, School of Rock." And it's kind of funny. And what happens next is there is a scene where Mr. Finn is like just sitting in his room, and the rat comes up to him and sort of turns himself in, and Mr. Finn has a change of heart. And it's all right. It's a decent little thing because the rat is he is a cute rat, or I think it's a she actually. From what I can tell, I think that's a girl rat. The rat is cute. And he catches the rat because the rat just kind of walks into the trap. So then everything's all good. Everything goes back to normal. The cafeteria reopens. Zach, I think, ends up like selling the rights to meal shakes. Can't remember exactly what he does, but he ends up making a lot of money, and he buys everyone members jackets, and the jackets have a removable School of Rock logos so that everyone can wear it around outside the classroom. And then you see Mr. Finn, he has just like, this is great, Zach, and he goes back and sits at his desk, and in his drawer he has the rat just kind of living there, and he gives him a little bit of food, and it's like, it's funny, and it becomes his pet, and it's a little adorable, and it's a good ending. So yeah, this episode, it was a fairly decent episode. It was a great episode that doesn't have to deal with the whole school band concept, and worked out pretty well. I liked it. Okay, so yeah, this has been Pokematic signing off, and bye bye.